the internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
I'm me, the stylist, no scam and style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress, you charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss Pam gave it to her cousin first.
Or a sketchy loan flyer.
Electrifying deals.
See why making the right financial choices is pure common sense. Brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, empowering everyday Jamaicans one episode at a time.
Grandpa, it's 2026. You can't keep hiding all your money in every single pocket forever.
CVM News at 7 headlines Tuesday, courtesy of Heart NSTA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, they lied. Acting University Hospital CEO denies flooding destroyed missing files as PAC probe deepens. Working together, opposition to play key role as Prime Minister tables NARA bill. Where's the money? Opposition questions post-Melissa support for those most in need. And please help my son. Mother appeals for help to fund future doctors' education. In the business report, powering past weather shocks. A deep dive into the JPS Climate Action Expo. And later in sports, Barbados Pride building on first innings lead against Jamaica Scorpions.
CVM News at 7 headlines Tuesday, courtesy of Heart NSTA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
Hi, I am Candy Pang.
What a guan?
What a guan?
That a guan, pa.
What a guan?
What a guan?
What a guan! Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
That a guan, pa. What a guan?
CVM News at 7 Tuesday, brought to you by
New KFC Saucy Wings. Available in sweet and red chili and citrus chipotle barbecue. KFC, it's finger lick.
From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7 for Tuesday, April 14, 2026. I'm Nika Lewis. Thank you so much for joining us. Up first this evening, the plot is thickening as Parliament's Public Accounts Committee attempts to uncover the true extent of the recently reported tax fraud and buyback impacting the University Hospital of the West Indies. Chairman Julian Robinson on Tuesday instructed that 3 executive members, including the current CEO and his predecessor, be summoned to the committee to answer several questions relating to the breach. Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, PAC, resumed after the Easter break with 3 names of past and present leaders of the University Hospital being summoned to answer to the reported procurement breaches impacting the facility. This as PAC members at the last sitting implored the chairman to summon those who can better answer, noting not much was forthcoming from the interim and newly appointed members.
Members, from the first meeting that we had 2 weeks ago, it is apparent to me that the current management of the University Hospital is not in a position to answer many of the questions that we have related to the operations of the University Hospital. I'm seeking the committee's agreement for us to summon the current CEO of the hospital, who is on leave, Mr. Mitchell, the previous CEO, Mr. Allen, I believe his name is, and the former chairman of the board, Mr. Chai Chow.
Robinson's suggestion was met with support from PAC members, several of whom have long questioned the usefulness of interrogating the interim CEO and the new executive, when much of the breakdown reportedly happened before their tenure.
So I'm asking members for their agreement for that, so that we can have many of the questions that we have answered at this committee.
Indeed, Chairman, I would second that motion. Agreed, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Committee clerks, I'll ask you to write to those three individuals, the current CEO, Mr. Mitchell, the former CEO, Mr. Allen, and the former board chair, Mr. Chai Chow.
In previous sittings, it was revealed that several of the entities that benefited from the hospital's tax-exempt status were able to access what appeared to be the signature of past and present CEOs to procure a myriad of items and supplies. It was also established that much of this was done without the knowledge of the procurement team at the hospital. Meanwhile, interim CEO Eric Hosin, responding to several questions about the findings of the latest Auditor General report, explained that some 22 files previously reported by the hospital as missing are being reconstructed with information from several departments and should be completed by the end of April. It was also found that several files deemed lost or destroyed by flooding in October 2020, March 2022, and October 2025 were not likely to be impacted by flooding at all.
In essence, then, while there would have been damage would not have prevented you from having access to the file, even if the file got wet. So the flooding could not explain the absence of the files then.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
More than $1.6 billion in contracts were not uploaded to the government's electronic procurement platform GoJEP by the University Hospital at the time of the Auditor General's report into procurement breaches. During the period, the hospital adopted a $10 million threshold for contracts uploaded to the platform, which was found to be the lesser value than the contracts that were not inputted. The hospital CEO says since this March, there has been a mandate to use the system for all contracts, regardless of their value, but there were still questions.
Those same two-thirds in terms of number only represent 22% of value. So even by their own declarations, it appears that the contracts, the larger contracts, are the ones that are not being done via GoJEP, and that seems counterintuitive to the instructions issued by the Office of Public Procurement Policy. Could you explain that? Or could you say how they explain that, these procuring entities?
We are in the process, or still in the process of analyzing the data. So we have a team going through the data, analyzing to determine what the root cause of this issue is, what is accounting for that significant value of procurements being executed outside of the system. I know that, generally speaking, petroleum-related procurements are not done using the system, and that accounts for a substantial value of procurement activities that, based on the mandate, would be required to be used to use the system. But we are analyzing the data, and as soon as we are complete with that analysis, then we could provide you with a further update.
The PNP is raising concerns over the government's post-Hurricane Melissa recovery response, questioning the effectiveness of the Roofs program and NARA. The party convened a media briefing this afternoon addressing several other Melissa-related concerns. Kevin Black tells us more.
The People's National Party, PNP, is raising concerns over what it describes as significant gaps in the government's post-Hurricane Melissa recovery response, months after the Category 5 system left widespread damage across Western Jamaica. Speaking at a PNP press conference on Tuesday, opposition leader and the PNP president, Mark Golding, criticized the government's handling of recovery efforts, including delays in establishing the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA, and the shortcomings in the restoration of owner or occupant family shelters roofs program.
If you look at what is happening in our country now, the government has dropped the ball, and the people of Jamaica and the economy of Jamaica are suffering as a result of the government's ineptitude in managing the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. The government's primary program for addressing the shelter crisis occasioned by Hurricane Melissa, the roofs program, is hopelessly inadequate and is being incompetently administered.
Another point raised was whether the roofs grant is easily accessible to those most in need, with questions about whether affected families are able to successfully navigate the process and receive the assistance in a timely manner.
I was thinking when I was hearing of the horror stories about accessing the roof grants, why it is that this has become such a debacle when in the COVID crisis there was a range of grant programs created where data was uploaded and people were able to receive funds in their bank accounts or through the remittance agencies. It seems that we've completely abandoned that template. So we have a situation where people who are in desperate need of assistance are receiving a fraction of what they need.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Western Westmoreland, Ian Hales, says many residents are still struggling to access financial support, while infrastructure and basic services remain in poor condition.
In terms of JPS and the constituency of Western Westmoreland, I'd probably say around 85 to 90% of our citizens have been restored with electricity thus far. We're having a problem also, I think within some schools you have school attendance on the decrease because of what is taking place with the parents. For the farmers in Western Westmoreland, I don't think there's 2,000 coconut trees leaving in Westmoreland, period. So I want to appeal to the Minister of Local Government, to the Prime Minister, and to just ask, how much more can the people of Westmoreland accept or take before they start taking to the streets?
Kevin Black reporting for CVM News.
We take a break. CVM News at 7 continues in just a moment.
New KFC Saucy Wings. Hot and spicy wings tossed in our irresistible sauce. Available in sweet red chili and citrus chipotle barbecue. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
I'm me and the style is no scam and style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress, you charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss Pam gave it to her cousin first.
Or a sketchy loan flyer.
Electrifying deals.
See why making the right financial choices is pure common sense. Brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, empowering everyday Jamaicans one episode at a time.
Grandpa, it's 2026. You can't keep hiding all your money in every single pocket forever.
Thanks so much for staying with us. In the meantime, South St. James Member of Parliament Nikisha Burchell is raising concerns over what she says is a lack of support for hurricane-hit residents, including delays in home repairs and business assistance. Carla Ramdeen has more.
Member of Parliament for South St. James Nikisha Burchell is raising concerns about what she calls a lack of support for hurricane-hit residents. She says constituents have not received any of the $10 billion announced for home repairs, adding that many affected areas are opposition held.
I don't know. Someone yesterday in Stonehenge, a constituent said to me, maybe if more JLP MPs were affected by Hurricane Melissa, then the MPs would have been included in the decision and also in the process of getting relief to the constituents. It is sad that a disproportionately higher number of these constituencies are represented by the People's National Party.
Opposition spokesman on housing and sustainable living, Senator Dr. Floyd Morris, says last November the government committed to providing some 5,000 container homes to people affected by Hurricane Melissa, but there has been none to date.
My question to the Prime Minister and the Minister with responsibility for housing, where the house them there? Where the house them there? Poor people in Culloden need the houses. Poor people in Petersfield need the houses. Poor people in Jericho need houses. We can't allow our brothers and sisters that we talk about, say we care about them, to be living in the deplorable conditions that they are in post-Hurricane Melissa.
Ms. Burchell is urging the government to reopen the roof assessment database, noting that in deep rural communities, residents often leave after homes are destroyed, making assessments difficult. She is also calling for better communication, including town criers and posters, to alert residents where they can get relief.
We are deep rural constituents, says, and therefore when a hurricane strikes and your home is destroyed, you can't stay there. So the Ministry of Labour can't say, we went to your house and you weren't there. Of course we weren't there. There's no house. Of course we weren't there. We have to be catching with a neighbour. Of course we weren't there. We work in the city. Deep rural constituencies require more care and a better understanding of how we operate. We need a town crier to come into the communities to announce the dates when these representatives from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security is coming around so we can make ourselves available. And for God's sake, please stop directing constituents from the NIS office to the MPs, knowing fully well the MPs cannot assist them with their housing repair. That is the roofs program.
The MP further highlighted that small businesses have been badly affected, but no economic assistance has been announced.
Because how could a caring government not think about the resuscitation of the economy of a constituency that has been so ravaged by this hurricane? Talk about our farmers. Our farms were wiped out. We are the farming constituency in St. James. We feed Montego Bay. We also contribute to the Falmouth market. The crops were destroyed. We're expecting that a constituency like South St. James would receive a lion's share of any fertilizer, any spray, any seedlings. We've had some trickling of support where agriculture is concerned, and we're surprised that other constituencies that don't even plant corn, yam, tomato are getting big agricultural inputs and not so much South St. James.
Carla Ramdeen, CVM News.
Debate on the recently tabled National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority NARA bill opened today in the nation's parliament, paving the way for the post-Hurricane Melissa infrastructure development. But it was not without opposition and fiery exchanges as the leaders clashed over the governance of the entity and aspects of its structure. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness noted the opportunities presented by Melissa's catastrophe and the ensuing international financing that he dubbed historic from lending agencies. However, despite the $6.7 billion from international agencies, he reminds that there's a significant financial gap to plug, with devastation to the tune of $12.2 billion. In comes NARA to cement Jamaica's path to building back stronger. Dr. Holness deems NARA an executive agency, but opposition came soon after.
It is a statutory body. Clause 3 makes it absolutely clear. It's a statutory body to which the relevant section of the Interpretation Act applies. Section 28, which means it can hold property, can sue in its own name and be sued, etc. This is not an executive agency. That whole discussion about an executive agency is a complete red herring.
Madam Speaker, I believe we should focus. we should focus on this, because the more the leader of the opposition gets into this business, the more he reveals himself as not having an understanding of the issues.
The Prime Minister reiterates how the entity will be governed and the role of the independent oversight body JAMROC.
Often, the targets have lacked the rigor needed to drive real accountability, and the consequences for underperformance have been insufficient. We are conscious of those shortcomings. We will address these in how the NARA CEO is held to account. Performance evaluation of the CEO will be conducted by the Cabinet Office, will be with structured input from JAMROC as well as other stakeholders. Performance evaluation will be grounded in the achievement of clearly defined targets and measurable outcomes, not merely process compliance, not activity reports, but delivered results.
Dr. Holness says people will be able to judge the entity as well, guided by the reports from JAMROC. He also announced another feature of the governance structure will be a member of the opposition who will serve on JAMROC.
JAMROC will operate similarly to the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, which was established to monitor the implementation of Jamaica's economic reform program. Madam Speaker, similar to the economic reform program, reconstruction is not a government project. It is a national project. Its oversight must reflect that. That is why I am announcing today that the government will make provision for JAMROC to include a member nominated by the leader of the opposition.
From residents of Salt Marsh in Trelawny, as they say they've been without running water for months. CVM News understands that despite not having running water, the residents have still been receiving monthly bills from the NWC. Amoy Harriet reports.
Boulders blocking the roadway and placards in hand. A scene far too familiar. Residents in Salt Marsh, Trelawny took to the streets in protest on Monday, calling on the National Water Commission, NWC, to fix the pipes in their community that were destroyed during Hurricane Melissa. It's understood that the demonstration, which lasted a few hours, resulted in traffic disruptions in the area, affecting students and other commuters. The protesters told us they're now at their wits' end.
We've been without water since. We've had to be purchasing water on a weekly basis, and it's becoming difficult for residents here to consistently purchase water to support their households. So we're just asking the respective personnels Stakeholders, we're asking you to come in and assist us. We need water.
They say they've reported the matter to NWSC, but they've been getting the runaround.
We've been constantly reaching out to Water Commission asking for support. Where I can recall when I went to the Mobe office, we were informed that it will be a weekend work. The team came here for about 3 weekends, and after that, we haven't seen anyone for the better part of 5 weeks, going into 6 weeks now.
Councillor for the Martha Brae Division, which includes Saltmarsh, Roydale Hamilton, says several promises were made by the authorities, but to date, nothing.
From last year, after the storm, all of the pipes was rooted up. Water Commission said they be putting in new pipes. Last 2 months when I went to council meeting, I was told at the meeting that it would be in 6 weeks. The pipe will be finished laying. It has not been halfway as yet. Last year before the general election, this government came to Davis Pen with a lot of pipes. Said they'll be running pipes from here to St. James. After election, the pipe has been taken, I don't know where. Some of the pipe could be used to let the people of Saltmarsh have running water.
They're threatening to continue demonstrations for, quote, as long as it takes. In the meantime, NWC says works on the Martha Brae Saltmarsh pipeline network are now approximately 30% complete, and its target for completion is next month, May 15. In a press release Monday, the Commission also acknowledged concerns raised by customers regarding the receipt of bills during periods of disrupted supply. The Commission says immediate checks and investigations are now underway into these reports and is encouraging affected customers to make contact as these reviews are undertaken. Amoy Harriet for CVM News.
The future of a young medical student is at risk tonight as financial struggles are threatening to have him pulled from medical school at the University of the West Indies. His mother is making a desperate appeal to the public for help as Friday's deadline is approaching. Amoy Harriet has their story.
Alicia Morrison says she's running out of time and options. Her son is a first-year student at the University of the West Indies, Mona, in the Faculty of Medical Sciences. He wants to become a doctor, but his journey in medical school now hangs in the balance. Alicia's son is currently barred from sitting his final exams, which begin this Friday, because of an outstanding balance on his school account. His tuition is roughly $5.5 million annually. Alicia and her husband have paid around $2.2 million. As for the other 3.3, the family is now out of options to source.
We have been to everywhere. We've been to all different banks trying to get a loan. We just can't get a loan for him to finish. And it's at the point right now where he's all stressed out. He's crying because he has done so well for the year, passes all his courses, but just can't do the final to move on to second year. So it's kind of stressing. It's very devastating, and it's coming as a parent that you have failed your child, even though you're trying to do the best for your child to be a better version of you. It's just very hard.
She fears all her son's sacrifices made so far could be wiped away in an instant.
From he was going to Excelsior High School till now, he has always been the number one student. He does very, very well. Successful grade 10 ones in CSEC right through. When he was about 7 years old, his great-grandmother, which is my grandmother, took sick. And from that, he was always our caregiver, look after her before he goes to school in the morning, make sure she have her tea, her pampers is changed. When he come back from school, he's there again. So it was his desire always to be a medical doctor, to help the sick.
But that dream is now hanging on by a thread. The family has until Friday, April 17, to pay the remaining $3.3 million.
If he doesn't do his finals, he'd have to sit out, wait, pay up all those fees, and then when the next finals come next year, July, before he's able to do the finals again, and then move on to second year.
She's appealing to the public for help.
They can contact me at 876-920-2330, or or they can contact his dad at 587-7390. They can reach out to us and we can give them the school account for them to make the payment. I'd rather the funds go to the school account more than the parents' account.
Amoy Harriet for CVM News.
Jody and Quarry joins us now with a preview of Lead Story Prime.
Hi, Nika. We're discussing a horrific tale tonight, the death of babies and mothers here in Jamaica. Life, loss, and labor wards is what we're going to be investigating inside Lead Story Prime at 8.
Tough one, but it's must-see TV, and we'll see you right after this with more news on the other side of the break.
Saucy wings, available in sweet red chili and citrus chipotle barbecue. KFC, it's finger licking good. The time by KFC is
7:30. Employers, once a month, you have the power to shape Jamaica's future. By paying your hard 3% contribution, you're not just contributing, you're investing in people, in skills, in our economy. Your hard contribution trains working-age Jamaicans, aligns programs with workforce needs, and secures our future. That's not just contribution, it's transformation. Contribute to heart and to your future.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yeah. Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Welcome back. It's now time for regional and international news with Marshall Hazley.
We begin with news from the region. In Grenada, the National Cybersecurity Incident Response Team is warning Grenadans to refrain from engaging with malicious banking text scams. More from Grenada Broadcasting Network.
According to CSIRT, the messages appear to come from local banks and are being sent from what look like legitimate local phone numbers. However, officials say these messages are part of a scam designed to trick recipients into clicking malicious links. Once clicked, the links prompts users to enter sensitive personal and financial information, which can then be accessed by hackers.
Further afield, at least 4 Iran-linked ships, including 2 that visited Iranian ports, crossed the Strait of Hormuz on Tuesday following the start of a blockade by the US. At least 3 others also crossed the key shipping channel. BBC tells us more.
China, the biggest buyer of Iranian oil, describing the US restricting access to Iran's ports as irresponsible and dangerous. And what we've been hearing from the Pakistani capital, Islamabad, as well, reports that the next round of talks may take place this week or early next week to extend the current 2-week ceasefire. So far, neither Washington nor Tehran have made any formal comments on this next round of negotiations, but we're watching out for that and we'll bring you any comments as soon as we get them.
Meanwhile, talks between Israel and Lebanon are underway in Washington, D.C. The U.S. brokered negotiations marked the 2 sides' first direct diplomatic contact in more than 3 decades. Al Jazeera has the details.
Now we are seeing a lot of emphasis on the fact that the ceasefire will not be part of the talks, but rather the main issue that the Israelis want and focusing on is the disarmament of Hezbollah. This is not a secret, and the Israeli officials have been demanding the disarmament from the Lebanese government, even going as far as threatening the Lebanese government of paying a heavy price if it does not disarm the group.
And that's it for regional and international news. I'm Marshall Hazley.
Now to the business report with Joel Crosskill.
To share with you in the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, may have been powering Jamaica for 102 years. However, in that span of time, they would never have seen a storm as powerful as Hurricane Melissa. And as we make a return to the second staging of the JPS Foundation Climate Action Expo 2026 for a deep dive into what it takes to keep the lights on within the context of climatic shocks, an update from the Minister of Energy, Transport and Telecommunications confirms that as of April 1, 2026, the number of customers still without electricity is down to 3,022 from 6,113 at the start of March.
For the first time in Beryl and in Melissa, we were able to hold up 23% of our grid in a superstorm. This shows the infrastructure and the investment that we have put in. This shows how resilient our grid has become. And that is one of the things that grid resilience means for us, is to take the punches, but not to flinch, never to go down, and to keep fighting. And with every year that passes, we will continue to improve, and that helps us also improve the speed of response. For Melissa, 80% of our customers are restored within 1 month.
That may not have even been possible without the controversial intervention of government, as in December, the approval of a US $150 million loan to support accelerated restoration was made against the backdrop of JPS projections that full restoration could extend into late 2026, and in some cases into the first quarter of 2027, timelines the customers nor government were willing to accept. It's a sore point, answered Hewitt, Director General of the Office of Utilities Regulation OUR, says Jamaica must guard against going forward.
One of the things you need to do immediately after disaster is to have liquidity. Now, you may have a lot of arrangements for loans and capital, but you need to mobilize funds as quickly as you can. And therefore, we need to work with the financial institutions, the funders of the capital markets, whatever it is, to make sure that arrangements are in place pre-disaster that you can tap into immediately, because you cannot wait 3 months to negotiate a loan.
Current cost of restoration stands at $350 million. However, that includes a deliberate effort to make existing and new infrastructure more resilient.
We have started to harden or to redesign our transmission network to ensure that our transmission network is robust. For someone who might be wondering, the transmission network is what you call those big high tension wires, right? So we are ensuring that those wires, those structures can withstand wind speeds in excess of category 3, in excess of category 4. And we are doing that in a phase basis. We have now improved the foundation around some of our poles. There's something that's called polecrete. So a pole is in the ground, rain falls, the ground gets soggy with the wind speed. All that happens is that the wind blows over the pole, right? Because the ground is soft, it's too moist. What if you put a kind of material in the ground where the foundation is, that it absorbs some of that moisture and it keeps the pole standing? We have invested in using some of those mechanisms to ensure that we ensure the poles are as firm as possible.
Sheree Ann Ferguson, Manager, Sustainable Development Services Division at